Anybody that's ever been fired knows what I'm talking about. Even if you really don't want the job, when they let you go, it's like any breakup. You act like you don't care. I didn't need that damn job anyway. I didn't need them. But when you have those moments alone, you start to wonder if there was a better way to handle it, and if you could have handled it better, maybe you could help your family. And then before you know it, you're broke, and you find yourself scraping together change just so you can ride the subway so that you can get the next job. And maybe if you could book something else, that would eclipse the feeling of doubt that's building, but it seems like you can't pay them to hire you now. My agents at the time told me it might be a while before I got a job acting on screen again. As you commence to your past, press on with pride and press on with purpose. God bless you. Now, this is your time.
It is time for Yes with Yesse. Please welcome your host, Yesenia Leyva.
Good evening. Good evening. Yes, I magically appeared. With that applause, ese aplauso. Así fue que aparecí mágicamente. Buenas noches. Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for joining. Nuestra gente latina, buenas tardes a ustedes. Gracias por estar ahí en el otro lado de la televisión o de la pantalla o de la radio. Thank you so much for being on the other side, whether you're on the screen, on the other side of the screen, on radio, on all our platforms, rather, on our YouTube channel. I see you guys here. I see you. Social media, I see you. Good evening, Brother Randu. Randu, I missed you. I have to say I missed you. Don't do that again. Brother Joseph, Brother Akil, thank you so much for joining. I am honored. Shanice, I see you. I haven't seen you in a while. I see you. Joel. Next week, wear the black coat and white shirt as seen in the photo. I have no idea what he's talking about, guys, but hi. Mina, I see you. And thank you, guys. Thank you so much for joining. It's always an honor and a pleasure to be here with you guys. And it's interesting because I love being here, and I also love being on the other side when I'm like interacting or just watching, and I can kind of tell who's on all the time or who's not, and when certain people disappear, and I'm like, wait, where's so and so? Like, where's Randu? Or where's so it's kind of like weird. So don't do that to me. Let me know what's happening. Okay, let me know what's happening. Let us know what's happening, because we definitely miss you guys when you're not here, and we pray for you, and we hope all is well all the time. So it's a really cool place to be. So thank you guys so much for joining Yes with Yesse. I have so much to talk about, so much to tell you guys. I was away for a couple days in a trip and in a local town, and so it was a lot of fun, very stressful, but it was in my zone. So I really enjoyed myself, and yeah, so I'm going to tell you guys some about that. Of course, it has to do with advocacy and all the things that I do in the disability world, in the community of those with disabilities, including for myself. And for this time that I had this opportunity, it was really for myself. It was really advocating for myself, for needs in our community for me, but also for everyone else that is either in a very similar situation as myself or has been there, or whatever the case. So it was a double fold of advocacy, which was really, really cool. First time experience in this particular or in this specific realm of advocacy. So that's always fun, because for me, I'm like learning, but I'm advocating because I know our struggles and I know what we need. And then people look at you like you have three eyes because you're the only one, or one of the only ones, a handful of individuals with disabilities in this conference full of directors and executives and funders and housing people and project managers. And, it's like, okay, so I have a choice. I had a choice. Either I got really intimidated by these people, or I was like, no, I'm going to own this. I'm going to own my position. I'm going to own who I am, and I'm going to own why I am here. And I did that, and I'm very, very happy I did, as scared as I was. It was very scary at times, but I pulled through. Thank God I pulled through. So I will tell you a lot more about it in just a moment. For now, we're just going to hang out. We're going to chill. It's Friday. It's Thursday, pre-Friday, pre-weekend, and then we do it all over again. So thank you guys so much for being here. Take a moment to share the broadcast. Let others know that we are here. Share the broadcast there, you guys, on Facebook and on YouTube. Share. Make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel so you don't miss a beat. It makes me happy to see you guys here. So do that for me and subscribe so that you guys are here. So right now we're going to dance like David danced. Vamos a danzar como danzó David en lo que ustedes comparten el YouTube y el Facebook. Vamos a hacerlo. We're going to make sure to share and invite, and we're going to do this together as you guys go ahead and share the broadcast and let everybody know that we're here. Let's do it.
The Lord moves upon my heart, I will dance like David danced. When the Spirit of the Lord moves upon my heart, I will dance like David danced. I David danced. I will dance, I will dance, I will dance like David danced. Si el Espíritu de Dios está en mi corazón, yo danzo como David. Si el Espíritu de Dios está en mi corazón, yo danzo como David. Oh, yo danzo, yo danzo, yo danzo como David. Oh, yo danzo, yo danzo, yo danzo como David. Like David danced. When the Spirit of the Lord moves upon my heart, I will dance like David danced. I will dance, dance like David danced. I will dance, dance like David danced.
I will dance like David danced. Yo voy a bailar y cantaré como David. I love that song. I love that song very, very much. Joel asked, do they give the date ahead of time so that you can place the event or whatnot on the calendar? Yes. In a nutshell, yes. That doesn't necessarily mean that it's easy access or easily accessible to the community. I a lot of times find out about these events through other events or through other people that I know or people that I met in those particular events, because at the end of the day, it's kind of the same circle or a very similar circle of people going through the different seminars and the different trainings that I go to. This one specifically that I recently went to, I found out through another friend who is very active in the community as well because of his son who has a disability. And he started a project after returning from this particular conference that I just went to. That's where he got contacts and everything, and he knows my goals so professionally. So he was like, you know, go ahead, go try it, give them a call, see what happens. And so I did right away. Actually, I didn't even leave that conference, and I already sent them an email, let them know who I was and what I was doing and what I planned, and that I wanted to attend this conference. And they contacted me right away. When I say right away, literally right away, they contacted me, and they actually sponsored my ticket into the conference, which was amazing because I'm not a member of their particular group or anything like that. So based on my experience and what I want to do with the disability world and what I currently do, they were able to sponsor my way in. And then I just kept working from there, got another sponsor for the actual stay of the event. So thank you to A Luxury Limo for that. And super, super grateful to have this community of people that believe in me and in what I aspire to become and to do for our community. And so that's how it all happened, and I made it. And so it's all about community, as I always talk about, right? It's all about community. And so Ways to find out about this, though, is definitely social media. Definitely social media. It's not like what you know, it's who you know type of thing, but also social media, getting into groups, going to places, and just showing face, letting people know like, hey, I'm here. This is who I am. And being present, more than anything, being present in these places. And again, social media, groups on Facebook, we kid around when I'm a part of like all these groups on Facebook, like a groupie, but it's because of this. That's how you find out. That's how you find out about these events and things. And as a matter of fact, by going to this event that I just went to over the weekend, I found out about another one coming up, and I will definitely see what I can do to make it to that one, because it also pertains to the world of disability and everything that I do. So secret societies. I don't know about secret societies. No secret here. Good evening, Reverend Crescent. Thank you for joining. No secrets. But definitely different community groups, activities, and things like that. Those are definitely helpful. So it was awesome. It was really awesome. And I will definitely tell you a little bit more about it right after this.
Este corito es para alabar a Dios. Si tú le alabas también, sientes lo mismo que yo. Este corito es para alabar a Dios. Si tú le alabas también, sientes lo mismo que yo. Yo siento que el Espíritu Santo se está derramando en mi corazón y que una nube del cielo se está vislumbrando en la casa de Dios. Estaban todos unánimes en ruego y oración. Estaban todos unánimes en ruego y oración. Y desde el cielo bajó el Espíritu Santo. Y desde el cielo bajó el Espíritu Santo. Espíritu Santo, lléname, lléname, lléname. Espíritu Santo, lléname, lléname de tu amor. Espíritu Santo, lléname, lléname, lléname. Espíritu Santo, lléname, lléname de tu amor. Este corito es para alabar a Dios. Si tú le alabas también, sientes lo mismo que yo. Yo siento que el Espíritu Santo se está derramando en mi corazón y que una nube del cielo se está vislumbrando en la casa de Dios. Estaban todos unánimes en ruego y oración. Estaban todos unánimes en ruego y oración. Y desde el cielo bajó el Espíritu Santo. Y desde el cielo bajó el Espíritu Santo. Espíritu Santo, lléname, lléname, lléname. Espíritu Santo, lléname, lléname de tu amor. Espíritu Santo, lléname, lléname, lléname. Espíritu Santo, lléname, lléname de tu amor. Ven, 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 Espíritu Divino. Ven, ven, ven y lléname de ti. Ven, 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 Espíritu Divino. Ven, ven, ven y lléname de ti. Ven, 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 Espíritu Divino. Ven, ven, ven y lléname de ti. Ven, 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 Espíritu Divino. Ven, ven, ven y lléname de ti. Apodérate, apodérate, apodérate de todo mi ser. Apodérate, apodérate, apodérate de todo mi ser. Estaban todos unánimes en ruego y oración. Estaban todos unánimes en ruego y oración. Y desde el cielo bajó el Espíritu Santo. Y desde el cielo bajó el Espíritu Santo. Espíritu Santo, lléname, lléname, lléname. Espíritu Santo, lléname,
Espíritu Santo, lléname. Holy Spirit, fill me up. Espíritu Santo, lléname. I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. So yeah. So is it okay to be a little private about your disability if it's not too obvious or noticeable? Not ashamed, just don't want to be labeled. Absolutely. Absolutely. I want to say that's a hard one for me, because the way I see it is that okay? Yes, absolutely. But also I think it's okay to let people know about that disability, whatever it is, because how else will you be able to get help? You know, it depends on a lot of things. You know, what space in your life you are, you know, if it has to do with the school system, with government, all these different things that you might need help with, that maybe if you don't you know, let people know. And when I say people, I mean people that need to know, the professionals that are there to help you. If you don't let them know what your disability is, then they're not going to be able to help you obtain the services that you need for your independence or for the better of yourself in any way. I do understand the want to keep a disability private due to not wanting to be labeled. I feel as though the word label, or the terminology of being labeled, is to a different interpretation, right? To one's own interpretation. I don't feel like letting people know of what your disability is should be a label, or should affect that label. At the end of the day, we have it already, right? At the end of the day, I have my spina bifida, so, and it's not going away. So whether I tell a doctor, whether I tell someone in the school system, whether I tell someone, you know, of course, if it were not an obvious disability, if I'm telling them I still have that disability, I still have that label as a person with a disability. I can have that label according to society that I have that disability, but I don't choose to view myself the same way. The disability is a part of me. It doesn't make me who I am. It doesn't take away and it doesn't add from me. And so I think more importantly is, you know, if a person doesn't want to be labeled, what is it about that label that maybe can bring some kind of shame to them? I mean, we say, I'm not ashamed of it. So if you weren't ashamed of it, you wouldn't want to be labeled. So what is it about that particular title or name or whatnot that you're not comfortable with, that person is not comfortable with, that they don't want to receive the label of such? For me, I've shared before, I used to say, my name is Yesse and I have spina bifida, because that's my spina bifida. There I was labeling myself because I wasn't separating the person from the disability. Now I'm Yesse. I am a, you know, disability services provider. I'm a disability advocate. I'm an inclusion and diversity advocate and speaker. I do Yes with Yesse. I do so many things. And oh, by the way, I have spina bifida. Right? So that to me is the difference of embracing the difference that we have versus being ashamed of it and not wanting to be labeled. Parents don't want to label their children all the time in the school system, right? So this is where we take the inclusion a little too far, when we don't want to quote unquote label our child, you know, with a particular disability. But at the end of the day, if you don't quote unquote label them or put on paper, because that's literally all it is, put on paper that they have X disability, they're not going to get the accommodations. You're going to put them in an environment with everybody else that is not going to do them any good. Therefore, it's not going to do the other side, the other, you know, group of people any good either. So sometimes labels, as we see them, are necessary. I just don't feel, it's so weird for me because I don't feel like they should be labels. It just should be a thing. It should be a norm. Like, yeah, I have spina bifida. I receive services. I do all these things, and it's okay. It's okay to voice it, not be ashamed of it, and it is also okay to keep your privacy. So we don't have to know everything about it. We don't have to know all of the person's struggles or all of everything, but maybe just enough to be able to help you. I hope that makes sense. Just enough to be able to help you. Like I said, I can't hide mine, right? So it is what it is. So it's all about getting comfortable with where you are with a disability, how comfortable you are of, letting others know about it, and who are you comfortable speaking to about it that will not, go and tell the world or make fun of you or be disrespectful towards you in any way, because they understand, or at least you feel they understand where you're coming from. That's important too. And I feel like if we can say, that we're not ashamed, but it's not obvious and it's not noticeable, we're not ashamed, that we just don't want to be labeled. I think we should ask ourselves why we don't want to be labeled. What about the label is uncomfortable that we're not willing to voice whatever our struggle is or whatever our disability is? And it goes way beyond disability itself at times from my experience. So that's kind of what we have to keep in mind. So I want to tell you guys a little bit about my experience over the weekend. I went to the Florida Housing, the 36th annual Florida Housing Affordable Housing Conference. And it was fun. It was all about affordable housing. It was all about, professionals in the housing world, in the housing arena profession, and it was really awesome. To be honest, it was great to be around those professionals. It was great to meet them. It was great to learn so much about architecture and housing developments and just so many different things. And so I'm going to tell you about my experience from the beginning. I drive and I get there on Sunday. Everything is fine. I get there on Sunday. Our seminars and our classes started on Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. And everything is good. I'm Miss Independent, Miss I can do it. And I go and I just walk from the entrance all the way to registration, which was a super long walk. And I should have known better because I've been there before and not too long ago. I did it. I was energized. I was, I was excited. I walked all the way to registration. And I asked them the question. I said, I did a pre-registration and I asked for accommodation of a wheelchair or a scooter due to my disability because I know it's a lot of walking. So I already knew it was a lot of walking. The lady responds to me by saying, we don't have any accommodations. The only accommodation that we are providing is a food dietary accommodation. And I'm like, say that again. I was like, what? So yeah, in a nutshell, they were not providing any accommodations for physical or any other kind of disability. They were only providing accommodation for food diets. And I'm like, okay. I was upset and I looked at her a little funny. I was like, weird. So I go to the next person, the higher person than her, if you will. Same thing happened. And basically they were not prepared for individuals with disabilities. They did not have access to wheelchairs, scooters, none of that. On top of that, I already knew, again, because I had been there, that one of the elevators were not working. And so I was curious. I'm like, is this still going on? Sure enough, the elevator was still not working. So that was a big no-no. It's a statewide conference for every single person that lives in the state. And for you not to have accommodations for individuals with disabilities is a big no-no, because you're already going against the Americans with Disabilities Act and accommodations. So no scooters, no wheelchairs, long distance walking, the heaviness of the doors, like I can just tell you a million things. And then the treatment, or I should maybe the ignorance of that person to be like, no, we don't provide it, was kind of uncomfortable. So I let it go. I think we had our first sessions or whatnot. And then fast forward. Ooh, no. And then fast forward, we continued with our sessions, and it was kind of the same thing, right? So I wasn't able to get a scooter until the second day. So for me to be able to even go ask for a scooter the second day was because I was exhausted. Like I was done. I was ready to go. And so, a bunch of things happened. The second day came around and there was a fire drill. We were all upstairs in our sessions. There was a fire drill. That elevator I told you about was not working. I ended up having to go downstairs with everybody else, carefully, which was not bad because it's always easier to go down the stairs than it is to climb up the stairs. So I was good. Being Miss Independent, I go down the stairs with everybody else, which technically is a hazard, if you will, for the hotel. It's a liability. That is, it's a liability for the hotel. So I go down the stairs. I'm good. So I said, you know what? In order for me to get back to my sessions, I would either have to go back upstairs or go all the way down, that hallway, which was very far, and then find an elevator on that end and go across, go up and go across again. So it was a lot of walking. I was like, you know what? No, I'm not doing this. I went to the front desk and I explained the situation. And I said, can you guys provide an accommodation? After we went through the whole story, can you guys provide an accommodation of a scooter? Because this is too much, and technically it's a double fold because one, I should have known better and take my own wheelchair, but also I asked for an accommodation that wasn't provided. So I told them the same thing. Long story short, they brought me the manager and I told him, and he was basically like, well, wait here. I'm going to go tell my supervisor and see what happens. They came back. They took their time. They came back a little bit later and not sorry. We can't accommodate you. We can't accommodate you as a person with a disability. You would have to pay for it. So we went, I spoke up. We had a conversation as nice as possible in a way where they would understand what was happening, the gravitude of what they were doing. And they didn't give it to me. I had to pay for it. I had to pay for 2 days worth, 2.5 really, days of a scooter, which when you shouldn't have to pay for it, it's a lot of money. And so I did. Okay, it's over. So I, was mobile with the wheelchair or with the scooter, which I felt so much better. At that point, literally, again, I couldn't feel my legs. So I'm on the scooter. The next day comes. Later that day, we were in different sessions. That session was over. It was time to eat because I was hungry and cranky. So then the sessions came in later, and I was in one particular session regarding housing, affordable housing and community something. They get these fancy terms, right? So I'm like, okay. So I wasn't expecting to speak up. I was just there to learn, to network, to, get different contacts and stuff like that. So they started talking about their specific topic. People were voicing their concerns and opinions and questions. I mean, this is midday Monday. From the point that we started the conference to midday Monday, there was barely any mention of affordable housing for individuals with disabilities. There was barely any mention of vouchers or anything related to housing and disability. And when I voiced, where can I find information, they told me, a specific person said to me, well, if you go on the Florida housing website and you go to this tab and then you go to this tab and then you go to this tab, it was like a whole maze to find any kind of information for housing for individuals with disabilities. It's like, that's a big no-no because it's not accessible. It's not accessible. It's not readily and easily accessible for someone with a disability that wouldn't understand how to do that, right? Or anybody for that matter that would have a hard time doing that. So I was over it, kind of over it at that point. So fast forward, we're in that particular session. It was not a lot of people, but it was very interesting, very intriguing as the topics that they were pertaining or speaking about. And this lady goes up and speaks before me. She's talking about how she's a mental health professional, and her is testimonials and stories of the clients that she serves and how she has to put in her own resources due to the lack of resources that exist for, this kind of service to people with mental health and all these things. And she had me emotional because I understood exactly what she was expressing because I've seen it myself. And I took the opportunity to speak at that point. earlier in the session, the moderator said that we have to, his words were, we have to invite people, all people, to the party. And I was like, me voy a agarrar de ahí. I'm going to take hold of that one when he said we have to invite people to the party. So I went up and I says to him, oh, not to him, but I just, in general, I was okay at this point, because I'm all right. Normally, I'm okay to grab the mic and speak. So I'm okay at this point. And then suddenly, I got super nervous and nerve-wracking. But he said, we have to get to the point, or we have to invite people to the party. And I said, when I went up, I introduced myself, my company, and I said, earlier you mentioned we have to invite all people to the party. And I said, but are we being asked to dance? You're inviting me to the party, but am I being invited or asked to dance? Meaning, are you really including me in this party? That is the true, to me, definition of inclusion, and including someone with a disability in all aspects of life, not just, using a party as an example. But are you asking me to dance? In other words, are you being accommodating? Are you providing services to individuals with disabilities as well when it comes to the areas and things that we need to live, literally? Housing, transportation, employment services. Are we being asked to dance? Are you including us in our needs 110%? It was pin drop quiet. I was like, oh my God. I was super nervous. So that's what I said. And I said, here I am as a person with a developmental disability. There is no such options for housing in my area, as in many here, and look at the lack of representation of individuals with disabilities. This is exactly why, or this is one of the reasons why nothing gets done, because there's no representation. Because as individuals with disabilities ourselves, we feel like, well, they're not going to listen anyway, so why should I even bother? That's a lot of people's mentalities, which is wrong. And then also we go through the point where we have all of these services, and we are restricted into how much money we can make in order to keep these services, the medical health and all that stuff. And so our hands are tied. It's like if I work, I lose my benefits. If I don't work, I don't have money. I don't have money. I can't pay my car insurance, my cell phone, because we have expenses too. So what are we supposed to do? And I did mention the day that I was told to my face, you know what, one day you're going to end up in a nursing home or in a facility. And I turned around and I said, you're going to end up in one of those places. But then I said, is he wrong? Was this person wrong by saying this to me? Because what other options do I have? It ain't going to happen. But I'm just advocating for everybody else in my shoes. In similar shoes, what's going to happen? What are our options, and why are we not being a part of the conversation? Why are we being put in the same melting pot as low income Section 8, which is a low income housing program, which has no availability for vouchers, and people are kind of ashamed or scared of these titles of disability, special needs, Section 8, and we're worried more about what these titles represent according to whoever developed those titles versus obtaining the actual service or making the actual service available to those that need it. For me, again, I'm not a fan of being picky, if you will, of different terms. A disability is a disability. The only one that I can say I have a slight discomfort with is like special. I don't like special because we're not special. We're like everybody else. That's the only one. But you can tell me special needs, disability, different ability. I don't care how much sugar you want to put on it. It's still a disability, right? And so that's how I feel with these terminologies. If I need housing, I don't care what you call it, but make me a part of the, make me a part of the solution, the ones to be able to receive that solution. So all of these things about the terminologies and the different programs and available funding and lack of available funding. And I said to them all these things in my story of what am I supposed to do? I almost cried, to be honest, because I got so passionate about it, and with everything that had already been happening, I just like kind of lost it. And long story short, all of that happened. That kind of was like the last straw to everything. And next to me, a few feet away from me, was the director of this Florida Housing Coalition. And he came up to me. He basically apologized because I did express the situation with the lack of accessibility, the walking distances in the scooter and all that, not to shame them, but to educate and be like, look, this is all part of the lack of accessibility, and this is where it starts. This is where it starts by you're providing a conference for individuals with disability. Well, I should say you're providing a conference for housing, and your first thought should be all people with and without disabilities. It shouldn't be an afterthought, or because I'm mentioning it, now let's do something about it. It should be done from the beginning, from the very beginning. And if it's done from the very beginning and you market to individuals with disabilities, maybe we would be more prone to being, available, included, part of the solution, and literally be there, right? If we would listen to each other. So one of the things that I said, as I was standing and expressing all these things, I said, look at your stage. Look at your stage. And I was trying to be like, how do I say this as nice as possible? Look at your stage. Look at what you are. Look at what is there on your stage. And that is what you're representing. And it was all, it was not diverse. It was not diverse. It was male and female of one specific cultural background. It was not diverse. It didn't represent me. It didn't represent most of you guys listening and watching. I can tell you that. And so that right there is the problem. We need equal representation of ethical, cultural backgrounds and disability. Because how are you supposed to know what I need if you won't talk to me and ask me? Or if you don't invite me to be a part of these, panels? Yeah, exactly. A part of these panels. How are you going to know what I need? Because you look nothing like me, you experience nothing like me, therefore you know nothing about my life. So I said all of that as nice as possible. And yeah, I think I did hit them, where it hurts. And when I said that, the lack of representation, I said, please, I'm here. I mean, and I was fortunate to know people that were there, people that I used to work with, and I'm here and people know what I do. It's no secret. Call me. I'll be your consultant. If you need help with inclusion of individuals with disabilities, hire me as your consultant, invite me to speak on the panel, and I promise you I will be able to speak as a person on both sides of the coin, as a provider and as a person with a disability. And this is what I said to that director that came up to me. And he gave me his email. He sent me an email right away. He sent me an email right away. We communicated and, so that's what I mean when I say you have to be present. You have to put yourself in uncomfortable situations, because let me tell you, that was very uncomfortable. But my hope is that I got something positive out of it that can help me and everybody that is in a similar situation like myself, that I can represent. So that was very interesting. And, everybody was like, wow, thank you for speaking up, and, the courage, because people stay quiet, because people, they already feel the shame, so they're scared to talk. And I'm like, no, because that's the problem. If we don't talk about it, nothing is going to change, nothing is going to happen. And to, Joelle, to your point earlier, that's the thing right there. If I was to, which I cannot, obviously, but if I was to hide my disability, to be private about my disability, because it wasn't noticeable or it wasn't obvious to other people, even if I wasn't ashamed of it, I wouldn't be able to advocate for others and to, provide a sense of inclusivity or a sense of more opportunity if I didn't talk about and voice my disability. So that's why it's so important. Again, not because I'm ashamed of it, because I'm not. It's just not wanting the label. Not wanting the label means you want nothing to do with it. For me, right? So I think that that's where I had to get comfortable with whether it was the label or whatever, stigma came with it, which whether we express it or not, the stigma's going to come, the label's going to come. And it's going to come from the people closest to you sometimes, and it hurts and it bothers. But it's more important to me to advocate and to empower one person, make one change with these conferences and the people that I serve than it is to worry about the label. And I understand without the label, there's no me. Without the label, there's no me. So I'll take it. So that's a lot of what happened, guys. It was so stressful, but such an awesome experience. Again, I gained a lot of amazing contacts, and hopefully, no, God willing, I will be back to speak and be on the panel. It's already a talk. And fast forward to yesterday. I was just hanging out at the hotel. Still am, but I was super exhausted, could barely walk, and everything was closed because of the storm. So storm got me over there. Everything was closed, and a lady walks by, and I see her walking, and I says to her, "Hey, good afternoon. Do you know if the little restaurant down the hall or whatnot is open?" And she's like, "Yeah, actually, I'm heading that way now. That's the only little restaurant that's open." I was like, "Oh, great." So I was like, I walked with her over to the restaurant, and I introduced myself and I asked her name. Guys, I can't remember her name right now, but she is the assistant to the director of the Florida Housing Coalition. She works hand in hand with the director of the Florida Housing Coalition. I was like, thank you, Jesus. Everything happens for a reason. I stayed an extra day for a reason, and it was to, have a conversation with her and have dinner with her, and the rest is history. So we talked a lot. I explained to her what had happened earlier. I had explained to her what happened earlier in the conference the day before, and she also has a disability, so she gets it. She's also in the same mindset as myself, that it has to be more inclusive to individuals with disabilities and accessible at the end of the day. So I was like in awe, because that just doesn't happen. That's God. So I know now with more reassurance that I was there for a reason. I was there for a purpose. I know that we're going to meet again for sure. Same thing. We exchanged information right away. It was just amazing. And I also said that I don't want, or I wouldn't want, disability accessibility to be an afterthought. Same thing I told the other person earlier. I don't want it to be an afterthought. It's not that I don't want it. So it cannot be an afterthought. If you're saying and preaching that you're serving all people, it cannot be an afterthought. Accessibility and accommodations has to be in the front line while you're planning the event and everything. And if you don't know what that looks like, what that even means, call me. I'll help you. That's what I said to them. Yes, it was a lot of fun. It was stressful. I was exhausted. I'm just reviewing, guys, talking about a conference that I was able to attend over the weekend, the Affordable Housing Coalition conference, which talked all things affordability and structural architecture, just everything that has to do with real estate and affordable housing. And yet individuals with disabilities were not necessarily included in the conversation, or they were put in the same category as everybody else, as those with going through re-entry from prison to community, low income, Section 8, etc. And we just can't do that. We all have different needs. I understand why we do that, but we all have different needs. We all have different forms of income. We all have different restrictions. We all have different things. So we have to find a way to not categorize disability under just addiction or low income or laziness, even like, oh, you don't want to work because you have a disability. No, I can't, because I'll lose my benefit. I'll lose my health care. And that's the truth for a lot of people. And it stinks. and then I said, that's exactly why I'm working to build my business. But it's not easy for me. It's not easy for, anyone. So that was my weekend. I came back tired. I came back tired for sure. But that was my weekend. I loved it. I love to do it. I love speaking. As terrified as I was because it was a small group, I can do this all day and I can, but when it's a small group and it means so much, you don't want to, I guess you don't want to mess up, or you don't want to, hurt anybody's feelings or whatever. It's just, it was very nerve-wracking, but I'm so glad that I did it. I'm so glad people listened, and I'm so glad that now I can, God willing, be a resource for these trainings and more inclusion and accessibility to individuals with disabilities. So that's my story, and I'm sticking to it. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it. Yeah, so thank you guys so much for joining Yes with Yesse. Time flies when you are having fun. It is almost 6 o'clock, and of course I want to invite you guys. I'm sorry, 7 o'clock. Where am I? It is almost 7 o'clock. So I want to invite you guys to continue listening, continue sharing our social media and our YouTube channel on New Season Gospel FM. I look forward to seeing you guys again next week on another episode of Yes with Yesse. I'm with you guys Thursday at 6 p.m. So write it down. Turn on that notification and be here because it's always a fun time to be with you guys. The key to public speaking is wearing dark shades. Yeah, the key to public speaking is to look straight ahead into the plain air. Don't look at the audience. But I love it. When it's once I get started, I get over it. I love it. So I look forward to seeing you guys again next week on another episode of Yes with Yesse. In the meantime, come on back tomorrow morning in his presence at 6:30 a.m. And then, of course, the Pastor Steve Show alongside Pastor Henry. Always a fun time on Fun Friday. And prayer time with Minister Yesse at noonday prayer tomorrow. And then we do it all over. Look forward to seeing you all on this side on social media on Sunday during church at 11 a.m. with our New Season Worship Center ministry. So subscribe. I'll see you guys back next week, Thursday, but also, like I said, on Sunday as we get ready for church day here at New Season Worship Center. If you guys are not already following, follow us on all social media outlets, New Season Gospel FM, all one word, and New Season Worship Center. Turn on those notifications so that you know when we are on. And on that note, I look forward to again seeing you guys next time. Thank you so much for joining. And I, of course, will play una cancioncita más, one more song, Never Hurt Nobody, just for you guys. Have a great rest of your evening, and I look forward to seeing you soon.
Oh Lord, praises to your name. Oh Lord, for your name is great and greatly to be praised. I sing praises to your name. Oh Lord, praises to your name. Oh Lord, for your name is great and greatly to be praised. Can we sing that all in one voice? I sing praises. I sing praises to your name. Lift up your hands and sing. For your name is great and greatly to be praised. Everybody sing now. I sing praises to your name. Oh Lord, praises to your name. Oh Lord, for your name
For more than 12 years, Prestige Music Center